He said nothing. He didn't argue. He didn't beg. He just walked out the door, and she never saw him again. Because once a man sees the truth, there is no going back. He remembers the beginning, the way she looked at him like he was a god, the admiration, the laughter, the way she'd lean in when he spoke, her pupils dilating as if every word from his mouth lit her soul. But that wasn't admiration. It was assessment, calculation, a silent audit of value, and he passed. At first, it felt like power. She clung to him like he was oxygen. Her vulnerability looked sacred. Her tears made him feel like a protector. She said he made her feel safe. But safety, he later learned, was just the bait. Then came the shifts, small, almost invisible. But he felt them, because a high-value man lives by one code: watch everything. She used to thank him for working late. Now she mocks his ambition. She used to wait by the door. Now she scrolls her phone while he enters. She used to whisper, "I need you." Now she says, "You're not enough." He didn't react. Not yet. Because reaction is cheap. The weak explode. The strong watch. And what he saw behind her charming smile and her feminist vocabulary was an ancient truth wearing new makeup. She didn't change. She revealed. She never loved him. She loved the feelings he gave her, the image she could reflect off his shine. And when that shine became inconvenient, when his presence made her feel small, she began to corrode it, slowly, passive-aggressively, like acid behind a silk glove. And he let it happen. At first, because every man has a blind spot, the illusion that if he just gives more, she'll see his worth. But the truth is, the more he gave, the more invisible he became. This is the tragedy of high-value men. They're raised to believe that virtue will be rewarded, that devotion will be met with loyalty, that protection will be cherished. But modern dating doesn't run on virtue. It runs on leverage. She doesn't want peace. She wants power. And he became a liability to that power because he couldn't be controlled, because he saw too much, because his silence held more weight than her drama. And one night, she pushed him too far. Not with a slap, not with a scream. With something far worse, disdain. The way she rolled her eyes mid-conversation, the smug grin she wore when he tried to set a boundary, the chilling calm when she said, "Maybe you're just not man enough to handle a woman like me." That's when he saw it. The serpent behind the softness, the predator behind the pout. He didn't scream. He didn't explain. He simply stood, looked at her like a stranger, and walked into the cold night. No closure. No second chances. Just silence. She called, she texted, she cried. She posted inspirational quotes about healing from narcissists, but none of that mattered, because he was gone. Not physically, existentially. Once a man sees, love is no longer a possibility, only distance. She'll tell her friends he was afraid of her strength, that he couldn't handle a real woman. But deep down, where her Instagram captions can't reach, she knows. He left because he saw her. Not the version she sold, but the version she hides. And when a man sees the truth, the raw, unfiltered truth, he doesn't debate it. He disappears. This is what women don't understand about high-value men. You don't get to betray them slowly and expect an explosion. You get a ghost. You get the click of a closing door, the silence of a blocked number, the haunting realization that the one man who could see you, really see you, now looks at you as if you never existed. Because in his world, respect is oxygen. And once you suffocate that, love can't breathe. Freud once said, "We are never so defenseless against suffering as when we love." But Freud never met the modern high-value man, because this man, forged in solitude and sharpened by failure, loves without dependence. He gives you the world, but only once. Cross the line and he doesn't burn the bridge. He erases the map. This is not bitterness. This is evolution. He knows what's out there. He sees the performative femininity, the curated innocence, the performative victimhood disguised as empowerment. He knows the game, and he's done playing, because he's seen what no one dares admit. Most women don't want love. They want leverage, and when a man has no leash, they panic. She thought she could guilt him. She thought she could shame him into compliance. But high-value men don't respond to guilt. They respond to patterns, and once the pattern was clear, his path was too. So he left, without warning, without explanation. Because some exits don't require words, just a final look, the kind that says, "I saw the truth, and now I'm free." A woman's test is rarely loud. It doesn't come with a warning. It comes wrapped in a smile, buried beneath sweetness, disguised as affection. But beneath the surface, it's war. Not the kind with blood and blades. The kind that happens in silence, in small rejections, in the dance of dominance and submission. She doesn't even know she's doing it. It's instinct, ancestral, older than language. Jung called it the anima, the unconscious feminine principle. He said it lives inside every man's psyche, but in women it expresses externally, through seduction, control, and the testing of male spirit. And every man she meets becomes the stage where this myth plays out again. Women test men to find something ancient. Not money, not muscles, not charm. They test for power, but not brute power. Psychological sovereignty. When she snaps at you in public, she's not angry, she's watching. When she flirts with another man in front of you, she's not cheating, she's measuring. When she threatens to leave over a minor issue, she's not emotional, she's pulling a wire. And most men fail. They collapse, apologize, compromise, explain. All of it done with good intentions. But intentions don't matter in the world of instincts, because when she tests a man, what she truly wants to know is, can this man be broken? If the answer is yes, she may stay with him, but she will never respect him. And once respect dies, attraction follows it like a corpse to a grave. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once said, "The greatest torment in life is self-awareness in the presence of another's deception." And this is precisely what high-value men live with. They see the test, they know the game, and they refuse to play it. Because a high-value man understands this one truth. Every test passed invites a greater test. And when a woman realizes she cannot control a man, she will either elevate herself or destroy him. Most choose the latter. Because here's the uncomfortable reality no one wants to say out loud. Modern women are addicted to control. Not because they're evil, but because society rewards it. Every movie tells her she's a queen. Every post tells her she deserves more. Every ex-boyfriend becomes a villain in her story. She's been trained to view power as survival and the man as a threat to it. So when she meets a high-value man, calm, composed, immovable, she doesn't see peace. She sees a challenge, and she tests him, not once, not twice, relentlessly. She withholds affection. She creates drama. She disrespects his time. She'll provoke, nag, even insult. Not because she hates him, but because she needs to know, are you a rock or are you sand? And when he doesn't flinch, when he doesn't explain himself, when he simply withdraws, she panics because now she's exposed. The tests only work on men with something to prove. But a high-value man has already proven everything to himself. He doesn't seek approval. He doesn't seek validation. He is the mountain, not the climber. This is why high-value men are rare and why they are feared, because they hold a mirror up to the feminine shadow, the part she never wanted to meet, that part of her that sabotages intimacy, that craves chaos, that punishes love because it can't control it. Freud said, most people do not really want freedom because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. In the same way, most women do not want a truly free man because a free man cannot be manipulated, and that makes him terrifying. This is where the game ends. When she realizes her usual weapons, guilt, shame, withdrawal, do nothing. When she screams and he remains silent. When she walks away expecting him to chase, but he doesn't. When she tests him one final time and he never returns. Because here's what no woman tells her friends. She knows the test is unfair. She knows he deserved better. She knows he left not because he lacked love, but because he refused to be trained. But she'll never admit it. Instead, she'll say, he just couldn't handle me. He was intimidated by my strength. He was emotionally unavailable. Because admitting the truth that she broke something that would never come back would shatter the only thing she has left, her illusion of power. And that's what high-value men destroy just by existing. They don't fight for the throne. They are the throne. And once a woman realizes she can't sit on it, she either bows or walks away bitter. And when he walks, he doesn't leave footprints. He leaves questions. Questions that haunt her every new relationship. Questions that whisper at 2 a.m., why did he never come back? Why did he never need closure? Why did I feel so powerful until he saw through me? Because she wasn't looking at a man. She was looking at a mirror. And when it cracked, so did the mask she wore her entire life. This is the truth no one teaches you in school. No one preaches in church. No one posts on Instagram. That the feminine tests the masculine not to destroy it, but to prove it exists. And when it does, She either finds the man she was always searching for, or the man she'll never forget. She won't say it out loud, she might not even admit it to herself, but buried deep beneath her charm, beneath her curated femininity and socially correct feminism, lies a smoldering resentment, a contempt she can't quite name because it's older than her, the resentment of the untamable man. He doesn't chase, he doesn't bend, he doesn't crumble when she pulls away. And this drives her mad, because the world taught her a lie, that power makes her desirable, that strength makes her irresistible, that men would worship her independence like a religion, and most do. The weak do, the men who beg, the ones who bend, the ones who confuse submission for love. But the strong man, he sees through it. He doesn't care how many degrees she has. He's not impressed by her salary. He doesn't fall for the "I don't need a man" mantra wrapped in lipstick and side glances, because the strong man isn't searching for a partner to compete with. He's looking for something deeper, something real. And when he senses she's playing a role, reading from a script written by broken women in BuzzFeed articles, he detaches. That detachment is unbearable, because it exposes her greatest fear, that without her beauty, without her power, without her performance, she's not enough. So she retaliates, not with weapons, with something far more deadly, emotional sabotage. She begins small, belittling his beliefs, mocking his discipline, questioning his motives. She'll call him toxic for setting boundaries, controlling for expecting loyalty, emotionally unavailable for not validating her chaos. But none of it is random. It's all a test with one objective: break him. Because if she can break him, she wins. She proves he's just like the rest, beneath her power, beneath her control, beneath her moods. And if he breaks, she might stay, but she will never desire him again. Because deep inside every woman, whether she admits it or not, lives a yearning to be overpowered, not physically, but psychologically, to meet a man who can't be emotionally blackmailed, who holds his frame no matter how hard she pushes, because only then can she trust him. But here's the paradox no one speaks of. Most women crave that strength and simultaneously resent it, because that strength reminds them of everything they're not. It exposes the lie that they are not gods, that their feelings aren't law, that their emotions don't define reality. And in a world that crowns women as queens for simply existing, this realization feels like sacrilege. So they double down. They attack the man who mirrors their flaws. They try to reduce him to something familiar, something safe, something smaller. Not because they hate him, but because he's a mirror too clear to look into. A mirror that shows them the power they thought they had was borrowed, not earned. And yet he remains calm. He doesn't defend himself. He doesn't rage. He just watches. And in that stillness, she sees something terrifying. He doesn't need her. He never needed her. He chose her, and now he's unchoosing. And this is where the mask slips, not his, hers. This is the moment she realizes she wasn't dating a man. She was testing God. The modern woman worships power, but she cannot love it real, not when it's masculine. Not when it stares back at her and sees her soul. Because real masculine power doesn't flatter. It doesn't coddle. It reveals. And women have been trained by the culture, by media, by other broken women to fear revelation. So they hide behind lashes, behind slogans, behind therapy jargon and pseudo-spiritual self-help. But the strong man doesn't play in illusions. He sees, he studies, he discerns. And once he sees the resentment in her eyes, not for him, but for everything he represents, he knows. She doesn't want a man, she wants a servant, she doesn't want a partner, she wants an audience. And he refuses to perform. So he leaves. And this is the pain she can't erase. Because the man who leaves in silence, who doesn't curse, who doesn't chase, who doesn't come back, he becomes the ghost that haunts every relationship after him. Not because he hurt her, but because he saw her. He saw the anger beneath her seduction. He saw the fear behind her independence. He saw the little girl screaming through the mask of a queen, and he walked away. Freud said, "We are what we repress." And in that moment, her repression becomes unbearable. Because now every man she meets feels weaker. Every conversation feels duller. Every flirtation feels forced. Because she tasted what real power felt like. And now nothing compares. She tells herself he was cold, too rigid, too masculine, too stoic. But late at night, when the makeup's off and the filters fade and the phone's screen glows with no messages, she doesn't feel strong. She feels forgotten, and the resentment festers. Because she didn't just lose a man, she lost her chance to be seen by someone who couldn't be fooled. And now every mask she wears feels heavier, because somewhere out there there's a man who saw all of her and decided she was not worth his peace. And that truth, it hurts more than any insult ever could. There is no slam of the door, no farewell speech, no dramatic last argument with tears and shattered glass, only silence, only absence. She checks her phone, nothing. She calls, no answer. She texts, delivered, never read. This is not ghosting. This is excommunication. Because when a high-value man walks away, he doesn't just leave the room, he leaves the dimension in which she existed. And here's the truth she never thought she'd face. He's not trying to punish her. He's not playing hard to get. He simply does not care anymore. This is the heartbreak no woman is prepared for. Not because he hated her, but because he was capable of detachment. Most men beg, they chase, they post sad quotes and play romantic martyrs. But not him. He doesn't argue with chaos. He exits it, because a man like him doesn't love like a child. He loves with presence. And when presence is mocked, manipulated, or taken for granted, he withdraws it permanently. You see, in a society where women are taught that they hold the emotional high ground, the ability to cry on command, to weaponize vulnerability, to twist morality into guilt, men who walk away pose a unique threat. They break the script. They don't try to fix the broken. They don't explain themselves endlessly. They don't prove their worth to someone who saw it and tried to destroy it. They just go dark. She told him, if you leave, you'll regret it. But what she didn't realize was that he'd already left before she said it. The final goodbye for a man like this doesn't happen in the moment. It happens internally, over time. Each disrespect, each lie, each weaponized tear, it builds until the emotional account is overdrawn, until he looks at her and feels nothing. And that nothingness is her hell. Because most women aren't afraid of being hurt, they're afraid of being forgotten. To be hated is still a form of relevance. To be ghosted by a man who once saw you as his future, that is a kind of death. She scrolls through their old photos. She replays the memories like a movie she no longer stars in. She posts things hoping he'll see. He never does. Because she underestimated one thing. The high-value man doesn't just move on. He transcends. While she's looking for closure, he's building kingdoms. While she's posting stories, he's writing legacies. While she's asking, was I not enough? He's answering a question she'll never hear. You were until you weren't. And that's what kills her. Not that he left, but that he never looked back. Because the man she tried to control, the man she tested to death, the man she accused, belittled, and emotionally bled dry, he could have fought for her, but he chose himself. And that is a sin she'll never forgive, because it reveals the truth. She was not the center of his world. She was not his final destination. She was just a chapter, and she wrote herself out. The irony, all the power she thought she had, gone. Because now she's just a name he won't speak, a lesson he won't teach, a past he won't revisit. And this is what every woman secretly fears but can't admit, that the one man she couldn't break was the only one who could have saved her. But now she's left with the echo of what she destroyed. And him? He's walking through the world with clear eyes and clean hands, not bitter, not vengeful, just gone. He's not the villain in her story. He's the part that ended the story, the period at the end of her manipulation. Kierkegaard said, the most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. And that's what haunts her now. Not his presence, his absence, because presence can be controlled. Absence cannot. She will move on to another man, a weaker man, one she can mold, manipulate, manage, but it won't be the same. Because once a woman has felt what real masculinity feels like, not bravado, not bravest boy energy, but that still, immovable, unshakable masculine presence, every lesser man becomes a shadow. She'll project onto them. Try to find pieces of him in their words. She'll provoke them, test them, hoping, begging, they'll pass the test he failed by refusing to take it, but none will. Because a man like him comes once in a lifetime, and he only gives you one chance. And when that chance is squandered, he doesn't leave the door open. He doesn't write long texts at 2 a.m. He doesn't entertain your I've changed. He simply lives in truth, in power, in peace. The kind of peace that you can't seduce. The kind of peace that makes you remember what it felt like to be seen by someone who never needed you, but still chose you. And that silent, stoic, sovereign goodbye is the most devastating kind of love there is.